While anger is a natural emotion, it often leads to unpredictable behavior. Some lose sight of all reasoning and resort to lashing out without any thought, while others turn inward and become cold and distant. And then there are the Sigma males, who handle their anger in a wholly unique way. These men are independent, strong, and highly intelligent, which means their reactions to anger are measured, calculated, and not to be underestimated. They're not the type to lose control easily, but when they do, it's because they've been pushed to their absolute limit. While it may not happen often, here are 11 things that happen when a Sigma male gets mad. Number 1. The atmosphere changes. Without raising his voice, a Sigma exudes an intense, focused energy that puts others on edge. You can feel the shift in the air, and it's not something to be taken lightly. As a highly perceptive individual, the Sigma's anger is often palpable and can create uncomfortable tension in the room. The usually calm and collected demeanor is replaced with a serious and intimidating presence. You can clearly read the signs and know that something is brewing beneath the surface. Something is definitely about to go down. This atmospheric change is not brought about by loud outbursts or aggressive actions, but by a quiet intensity that signals his irritation. His body language becomes more rigid, his gaze more piercing, and his words, though few, carry a weight that leaves no room for doubt. While he may not be the loudest person in the room, his anger is definitely felt by all. You don't know what's coming, but you know it's not going to be good. Whether it's planning his next move or revealing what's really on his mind, the Sigma man is not one to be trifled with when he gets mad. Number 2. Mercy vanishes. Forgiveness and flexibility disappear. There will be no second chances once the final flashpoint detonates long-held fury. The Sigma male may be one of the most forgiving and understanding people you'll ever meet, but once you've crossed that line, there's no going back. It takes a lot to push them to their breaking point, but when it happens, all traces of mercy and forgiveness vanish. There won't be any room for excuses or sob stories. They believe in accountability and won't hesitate to hold you responsible for your actions. They value their peace and won't let anyone disrupt it. If that means showing you the door, so be it. It might seem cold and harsh, but it's just their way of maintaining balance in their life. They're not heartless, but they won't let feelings cloud their judgment when angry. They believe in action, not words, and if your actions have caused them harm, they won't stand for it. It's essentially their way of saying, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me." But with Sigmas, you usually don't get a chance to fool them twice. Number 3. Calculated silence. He says nothing, but his eyes dare you to keep pushing him to see what will happen next. The suspense builds with every quiet moment. His silence is not out of shock or confusion, but a calculated pause to allow his thoughts and emotions to align. The Sigma man will not react impulsively. He takes the time to process what has happened and plan his response accordingly. It's a power move that sends a clear message. You may have angered him, but he's still in control. The calculated silence also serves as a warning to others not to provoke him further. Sigma males are not ones for empty threats, so when they do speak, it's usually because they have something important to say. The longer the silence, the more intense and precise their words will be. This is a time when you definitely don't want to test his patience or underestimate his intelligence. These guys don't reach this level of anger just because you made a small mistake or cut them off in traffic. It's because you deliberately crossed so many lines and really pushed them to their limit. Number 4. Boundary reinforcement. When anger reaches a boiling point, the need for personal space and boundaries becomes more pronounced. Suddenly, there's a noticeable retreat, a pullback, an unspoken yet clear demand for respect and distance. This is not an act of cowardice or avoidance, but a deliberate move to establish a line that should not be crossed. It's a way of saying, "You've pushed too far, and this is where I draw the line." The retreat is not a retreat at all, but a reinforcement, a marker that signals enough is enough. This boundary reinforcement is a physical and emotional barrier, protecting the Sigma man's personal space and mental peace. It's a clear signal that he won't tolerate any further disrespect or provocation. It's not about building walls, but about setting necessary boundaries to maintain balance and respect. While most people won't dare to test these boundaries, those who do will quickly learn that crossing them comes with consequences. And for the Sigma, there's no going back once these lines have been crossed and boundaries have been broken. It's a sign of disrespect that they won't easily forget or forgive. Number 5. Cutting remarks. When pushed to their limits, Sigmas may unleash a barrage of cutting and brutally honest remarks, catching others off guard. Their sharp wit and intelligence combine to create scathing comments that hit straight to the core. It's not just about hurting someone's feelings, but also about letting them know exactly what they did wrong. Sigma males don't sugarcoat their anger. They lay it all out on the table for you to see and feel. Their words may sting, but they are often meant to open your eyes and make you understand the gravity of the situation. It's not just about releasing pent-up frustration. It's also a way for them to communicate their true feelings in a direct and unapologetic manner. Sigma men don't like reaching this point, but if someone has pushed them there, they will make sure their message is heard loud and clear. No room for misinterpretation. It's their way of taking control of the situation and not letting others push them around. Number 6. He'll stare you down until you back off. Imagine being under a spotlight during an interrogation, feeling an invisible pressure bearing down on you. That's what it's like when they decide to stare you down. Their intense gaze seems to penetrate right through you, making you squirm under scrutiny. This isn't a random, meaningless stare. It's a calculated move, their eyes conveying a message much louder than words. Back off. It's their way of asserting dominance without uttering a single word. It may be intimidating and uncomfortable, but it's also an effective way for them to establish their boundaries and make others understand that they mean business. The message is clear. You've pushed them too far, and now it's time to back off. Their intense stare speaks volumes about their state of mind, reflecting a level of anger and annoyance that you shouldn't take lightly. You could say the eyes are the windows to the soul, and in this case, they're windows into a storm. It's best not to push them any further. You're the one who pushed them to this point, and it's up to you to back off and give them the space they need. Number 7. He'll cut you off and ignore your presence. When they really get ticked off, they'll hit you with the ultimate silent weapon: total disconnection. It's like you'll cease to exist in their world. They'll cut off all forms of communication, be it calls, texts, or even face-to-face interaction. It's not just about avoiding conflict, but also about retaining their peace of mind. They see no point in wasting their energy on someone who doesn't respect them and their boundaries. It's a clear message. They've had enough, and they're not going to tolerate any more drama. It's a tough spot to be in, especially if you're the one who's been cut off. It feels like being shunned or exiled. But for them, it's a necessary step to protect their mental and emotional health. They're not ones to hold grudges, but once they've decided to cut ties, it's really hard to get back in their good graces. This silent treatment may seem harsh, but it's not just for show. It's a defense mechanism that keeps them from getting hurt again. Number 8. He'll walk away if necessary. When the going gets rough, walking away may seem like the last resort, but sometimes it's the best choice. Imagine a situation escalating to the point where words and boundaries no longer hold value. What's the sensible thing to do? Pack up and leave. This isn't about running from conflict. It's about knowing when to exit a toxic situation. Taking a step back provides a much-needed breathing space, a chance to cool off and think clearly. It's a way of saying, I respect myself too much to engage in this nonsense. The walkout isn't a sign of defeat, but an assertive move to protect peace and sanity. It's a clear message that they won't be dragged into a pointless argument or drama. It's also a way to protect themselves from any physical harm that may arise from the situation. While the Sigma man may be able to handle himself in a fight, he's not one to pick unnecessary battles. Walking away is not admitting defeat, it's taking the high road and refusing to engage in pointless conflicts. Number 9. He disappears for a while. When mad, the Sigma may simply vanish for a bit, as if he's gone off the radar. This isn't some melodramatic exit, but rather a conscious decision to retreat and reflect. This usually happens when it comes from a close friend or a loved one. The silence is not a punishment, but a way to detach and reassess the situation. The need for solitude is heightened during such times, giving him room to breathe, think, and regain his usual calm composure. Just like a submarine retreating into the depths, he retreats into his inner world, away from the noise and chaos. Here, away from prying eyes, he can process his anger, dissect the situation, and ponder over it. Outwardly, it might seem like he's ghosted you, but in reality, he's just taking a much-needed mental break to recalibrate. Once he's had his fill of solitude and his calm is restored, he'll resurface, ready to face the world again. Number 10. Cold logic. If he speaks, every word is chosen to methodically dismantle opponents with facts, not emotion. Ice-cold rationality freezes the battleground. Sigmas don't let their emotions cloud their judgment, even when mad. They stick to the facts and use logic to dismantle any arguments or excuses from those who have angered them. It's almost like watching a lawyer in court, calm, collected, and using evidence to make their case. This approach can be unsettling for some because it removes the emotional aspect of the situation and focuses solely on the facts. But for Sigmas, it's a way to stay in control and ensure their anger doesn't cloud their judgment. They want to get their point across without getting caught up in heated emotions or pointless arguments. And let's face it, sometimes it's hard to keep a level head and think rationally when you're mad. But for these guys, it's a natural response to anger, to rely on cold logic and reasoning instead of impulsive actions. Number 11. Ruthless efficiency. His anger can increase efficiency and productivity, as he uses his frustration as fuel to accomplish tasks or solve problems. In times of conflict or anger, he channels his energy into action rather than words. While some may brood and let their anger consume them, the Sigma man uses it as motivation to get things done. This ruthless efficiency is a way for him to regain control over his emotions and channel them into something productive. It's not about getting revenge or proving a point. It's simply his way of coping with intense emotions in a healthy manner. This is one of those rare instances where anger can be channeled positively, and the results can be quite impressive. It's his version of, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. His drive and determination are amplified when he's angry, making him an unstoppable force to be reckoned with.